Okay, so basically, I obtained this data, which is world data for the year 2023. I obtained it from Kaggle, and I was just trying to manipulate the data in different ways. As you can see down here, I had different, what's it called, sheets, report sheet. Yeah, so this is the overview dashboard, and uh, on top is our title, and then I inserted different slices to like interact with the data and the cards as you can see below. So for the slicer, let's for example say we want to check for Afghanistan. You can see it has from the cards, you can see it has a population of 38 million, and then this is the sum of GDP, which is $19.1 billion. And then this is the sum of life expectancy, which is basically 64. We can round it off so that it's not decimal. Uh, let me just try and do that so that we don't say someone is what years and months. Well, it's just years. Uh-huh. Yeah, like that. And then this is the country's average CO2 emission. And then this is the count of gross primary enrollment. Basically, you are using this to check the literacy level of the country. Yeah, and then I inserted the charts, the map, and also a column chart. What's it called? Clustered bar chart. Yeah, you can do that for different countries basically. And this is how it looked like for all the countries. Yeah, I was trying to check the top 10 countries GDP per capita. So you can see Monaco has the highest GDP per capita, which as you can see is $7 million. If you hover around the graph, you can just see different countries um, GDP per capita and GDP, and also the CO2 emissions. And then the countries, yeah, basically it's just the same thing. You can have an overview by hovering around it. Yeah, so that was my overview dashboard. Let's go to demographics and economy. Yeah, so in demographics and economy, I first, okay, originally the data didn't have uh, a variable named income group. So first of all, I created the income groups. I classify them as low, lower, middle, upper, and high income. And yeah, from this chart, you can you can basically tell that most countries fall under the high income, like that, with 33, 27 respectively. Uh-huh. No, sorry. That was the wrong explanation. This basically says that upper middle and let's say high income, the 64 countries are high income. So that is like 33.1% of all the countries. And then upper middle, you have 53, lower middle 50, and then low income you have 26 countries. Uh, Heading on to the next one. This bar chart, we were I was basically trying to see how the population is distributed, but according to the official languages, not per country. So that's why you can see official language on the x-axis and then sum of population. The highest population is China, as you can see, and India. China and India have the highest population. Uh-huh. The next one was bar and column chart, line and stacked column chart. Yeah. Here I was comparing the GDP and population by country. So on the x-axis, I had the country, and then the y was the sum of population, and then the line was showing the GDP. So, for example, China, you see when I select that bar, it shows the one for China. China, first of all, falls under the high income group, and it's here. The bar is high because it has a very high population, and then the line, you can see the line is also up there. So the GDP is also averagely high. That's why they're the high income group. We can see for, let's say, Nigeria. So Nigeria, as you can see, has an averagely lower population and even lower GDP. The line is down there. Yeah. So you can do that for different countries basically. Uh-huh. And then here I inserted a table that shows the country, the sum of GDP per capita, sum of GDP, population, and the language of the country. This basically helps you to have a quick view of the figures instead of going all the way to table view. Yeah, so that was my demographics and economy part. Heading on to environment and sustainability. This looks a little bit more complicated, but it's not that hard. It's just that I've put a lot of things together. Yeah, so the environment part, I was basically checking the CO2 emissions level. So, for example, this first one, what is this called? It's called a tree map. Yes, a tree map. So I was playing around with it, and I basically included different variables. I included CO2 emission, sum of population, and then I tried to group them by country and then the income groups. So the green part, these entire green part, these are countries that have a high income. For example, you can see the largest one is China, and then you can see the population and the emissions, and you can see the United States. Yeah, China that has a high population also has high CO2 emission levels. You can just press on it, and then the entire dashboard will like be interactive, and then you can see from this card that the average CO2 emission for China is 10 million, same as that. You can just press on it and you can see, yeah, like that. And then the purple ones were the upper middle income, and then the orange ones were the lower middle, and then these red ones, it's kind of fixed, it's tiny. Sorry for that. You should like build on it so that your visualization is not that tiny. That is the lower, lower, lower. No. This is the lower income group. Yeah. Uh, this one, this was the scatter plot, scatter chart. Yeah. So the scatter chart, I was using the sum of GDP per capita and mapping it against the sum of CO2 emissions. Basically, trying to compare if a country has more money, let's say a higher GDP per capita, does it have an extreme effect to the environment also? So that's how I was comparing it to the CO2 emissions. And as you can see, it's true because you see these, what's it called? A larger bubble. Yeah, they're the ones who have like high extreme values. So for example, this one is for Hindi. The official language is Hindi, and then that is India. Yeah, you can see that the population is high, and then the GDP is average, but the CO2 emission. Sorry, I was supposed to include the population in the title because you can see that countries with a higher population have higher CO2 emissions. Mm-hmm. Same for that. You can just press on it like that. So you had for different countries. Here, I I inserted the composition tree. Yeah, I can't really explain much. You can just see that it shows um, how different countries emit different amounts of CO2. So, for example, you can see that the country with the highest CO2 emission is China, and like that, you can see that this part was incomplete, so I'll skip it. I'll go to health and education. Yeah, so under health and education, first of all, I inserted the cards for the average gross tertiary enrollment and the average life expectancy. So these are the figures for all the countries. So like average life expectancy is 72 years. Let me change this and remove the decimal. Yeah. Uh-huh. This part, this was, I wanted to see what influences the life expectancy to increase. So I checked for gross tertiary education enrollment. So what this figure 4.87 means, it basically means that uh, when the gross tertiary education enrollment goes up by 0.29%, this is basically the number of people in that country enrolled in a tertiary institution. The average life expectancy also increases by 4.87. Yeah, 4.87. So this basically means that the more educated people are, the higher the life expectancy per se. Let's say like that. Uh huh. this is also trying to explain the same thing, but in more like a table form. You can see the different countries there. And then I inserted the sum of gross primary. Okay, I know I'm not consistent here. Some parts have used tertiary, some parts have used primary, but we'll fix that. Yeah, and the life expectancy so that you can just have a quick view and compare. Uh, this one, this was a column chart. What's a column chart? Bar chart, clustered bar chart. I was comparing I plotted the average life expectancy against the country. So from here, you can see that the country with the highest life expectancy is San Marino, followed by Japan, Switzerland, like that. But this part, I didn't like plot all of them. I only filtered it to like the top 11 countries with the highest life expectancy. So there they are. Yeah. This part is also incomplete, kind of. But I basically just inserted a matrix. Is it a matrix? Yeah, a matrix. And then I put these values. Uh, the official language, income group. Yeah, basically, that's just it. And more work will be done on it. Yeah, that's all I had.
This is really nice work. This is nice work done. So I appreciate the effort you put to ensure that this is well prepared. So yeah, so I'll just make some comments. So let's go to the overview dashboard. So I understand that these are reports on different aspects of the data set, and maybe we can improve the header, and then we can also add some navigation buttons. Can put some navigation buttons for each page on the main page, which is about the overview dashboard. So as you arrange your visuals, you also now put in mind that you need it to be easier for people to navigate from one page to the other. So you remember the way we did for the previous ones. On your right hand side, you put the navigation. On the left, not on the right, but on the left, you put the the navigation page navigator. You put page navigator on the left. Also, uh, these this country GDP population, you put country, you create some space, ensure that these slices are on the very far end. Not this, the slicers, you put them on the very far end so that in between there you can put something so that the space is not that open. You can put these slicers on the far end and then now even put these cards at the top so that the space can accommodate something there so that it doesn't look some unoccupied space. Remember, spaces in Power BI are usually limited. So that's my comment there. Some of population, some of GDP, some of life expectancy. I don't think if is maybe we can look at the average. We see it's better we have like an average life expectancy. Uh, it makes sense, more sense than the sum of life expectancy, because we can't say like the total life expectancy of people in the whole world is 14,000. So we can talk about the average and not the sum. Um, Average of the emission in the world, that is better, that's okay. And all those other elements, that's okay. So if you wanted to have a global view as the one you have there, that's super cool. But in terms of the maps, it's good when you have map on its own page. Makes the map easier to relate and easier to read. So you just put on its own page with some navigation. Can be like slicers with the map, slicers for countries with maps, so someone can easily filter that out. But this is good, good work that's put in. Top 10 countries. I can see there are even more than 10 when you scroll down. So you need to combine this knowledge with the knowledge of DAX expressions. Have you heard of DAX expressions?
Not really.
Okay, so we need to combine this knowledge with the knowledge of DAX expressions, where you are able to you come up with like an expression or a function that is able to filter data to only bring the data of only top 10. So instead of bringing everything here, it only shows the charts for the top 10 countries by the GDP per capita. So instead of bringing all the charts for all the countries, it just only shows the one for 10. And this is really, really, really powerful. So we will see that, how we can see that as we proceed. So just remind me, we note that down. DAX expression, we look at that. So DAX expression makes it, gives you flexibility of creating new measures and also creating new columns from existing columns. So that is really, really also a great way of creating new variables or columns or measures that were not part of the original data set. So you create them and now they bring the data insights to life. So let's go to now demographics and the economy. So this is good. So what we usually do, I want you to note down a knowledge on drill through. Drill through. A knowledge on drill through. So let's say, let's say high income, that is by country. So let's say when you hover on the visual, what you see there is called a tooltip. When you hover on any visual, especially interactive visuals like the charts, whatever you see on the bars, whatever you see on the pie chart, those ones we call them the tooltip. Um, Now you can be able to add something we call, so you need to note down there's tooltip and there is a drill through. The drill through gives you ability for you to go to another visual from another visual. So these are like some final touches of Power BI, which we will be able to create time for drill through and tooltip. But for today, I'll just introduce the DAX so that it gives you more flexibility on how to work with, like, create new variables. I will not teach you the hard way, but it's good for you to learn the hard way. But nowadays you already have like generative AI, so you can use some of you can just tell the generative AI, I have a column known as GDP, like for example, the one for country. So I want to I want to return only the top 10. I want to come up with a column just to return a top 10 countries. And so that means we will create a new column that will store only countries that will be top 10. And then now you can visualize that variable in your data. So that's what we'll be able to do in DAX expression. And drill through now enables you, for instance, you have this report. You have a report sheet called deep dive matrix. And you want someone, when someone visits one of the visuals, there is already a guide that you can click here to drill through so that you can go into details of that respective analysis. So that's what drill through does and the tooltip. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll just do that. So let's do some DAX expression, especially for just this solution that you already worked on. But before we go there, let's review. Also, let's go to you have given really nice insights about this data, and I must say kudos. I must say kudos. That's wonderful and well put. You see, now in data, it's not just about like creating visuals, it's about storytelling, coming up with stories from the data, insights. What is it? What is the data talking? And that's now the essence of why we torture data, so that we can have insights from it. Let's go to environment and sustainability. So we have the, can call it like we have a hierarchy here, like a decision tree. I have seen that one for country with the carbon emission. Maybe this you could also, I don't know if it's the same analysis that you did for the overview dashboard, which was containing the top 10 countries. But for me, I would also suggest that unless if you already have, like this visual, you convert it to show the top 10 countries that have the highest CO2 emission, so that it can tell that to the public. So the top 10 countries with the carbon emission. This one for the hierarchy. I think that makes also more insights from that. So that one gives you the top 10 ability to show that. So you can just use that. You can use DAX expression, so you can be able to also be able to apply. So just implement. I think you're implementing on the wrong visual, if I'm not wrong. It's supposed to be the one for hierarchy. The one with the hierarchy is the one that is supposed to receive that effect.
Which one?
The one for decision tree. The one for country and the CO2 emission.
This one?
Yes. So you will just change that visual also from the hierarchy. You will change it to clustered bar chart, or yeah, just a horizontal bar chart, so that you can show that horizontal, that is column chart. So click on bar chart, that one. Yes. Now you can use your filter there to now just show the top 10.
By CO2.
Yeah, by CO2. Some of like by CO2. So you see that now makes it more insightful than showing with the hierarchy. Hierarchy is good, but it requires, if you want to showcase a visual that contains like hierarchy, maybe you want to go to like dive deeper into hierarchy, and this means that this data is like a kind of categories, and then later on it can now bring in now the sum. So this one like tells more, gives more like more insights. So a DAX expression is usually alternative, like a flexible way of doing this, but you can of course do this with filters, you can do this with slicers, so that you can be able to storytell. So this is the easier way. So the hard way is using the DAX expression. So because it gives you also flexibility for you to create new columns, but of course you can create new columns with the other options that we looked at in the initial instances. Now, this scatter plot is showing the GDP per capita versus the CO2 emission by country, and it's good. It's good, showing some kind of a relationship, that when one increases, one also increases, kind of. However, we can't tell the strength of that relationship. However, as from what we see, there is like a pattern of an increase. When one increases, one is also increasing in a way. Okay. But of course, this is case by case. On average, that's the overall trend. But now we have a lot of countries that some cannot even be plotted. But at least we are able to tell from what we see that this country X, this country Z, and you did a nice visualization of that. All right. Right. So that's good. That is good. So we will also we'll go to the key influencers so that we can be able to see. So the tree map is also good. The tree map there is also good, but the tree map at the top is good, but it's also usually effective if you have small small categories. So you can also like do the same. You can only showcase maybe for a top of something so that it makes more insights. Like top of this, then this is the distribution of the carbon emission, distribution of this population in these particular countries, and this is the color represents now the income groups and so on, now by country. So that is also insightful. I appreciate that is well put. So let's go to health and education. So in health and education, that is average of gross tertiary what? You can just over on it.
Enrollment.
Or it's not showing from there. You can just go to the other, like the data side. So it's about
Gross tertiary education enrollment.
oh, enrollment. Okay. That's okay. Then now we have key influencers. So what causes what to increase? What influences life expectancy to increase? So when sum of gross tertiary education enrollment is up to this, key influences of life expectancy, the average of life expectancy increases by this. Can you, instead of the gross tertiary education enrollment, can you bring aspects of uh, life expectancy, GDP, and the aspect of population? What influences life expectancy? So you need to bring the aspect of the GDP and the aspect of population. Aspect of population. So when the average of life expectancy increases by this, no. Uh, when average of GDP is more than this, the average of life expectancy increases by this. So we need something relatable like this. Can you click on top segment? We found one segment and ranked them by the average of life expectancy. Population count. So when is life expectancy more likely to be high? So they found out that it's more likely to be high when the average of life expectancy is this and the population count is this. So key influencers. So key influencers need to be something that has like a direct relationship with what you are testing against. It is just like scatter plot. There is a need for linear relationship between the two. So that, and there is a causation. There is correlation and causation. So these key influencers need causation on top of correlation. Correlation shows relationship. Causation shows that actually it affect, like it's the actually it's the one affecting. So it's not just that they both increase or both decrease, but it's actually the key influencer. Like it's actually the very key influencer of that particular variable. So yeah, that is it about that. So maybe you can proceed to the next deep dive so that we can see what is there. So drill through, so deep dive is what I said. Now we use the concept of drill through to be able to access some of the things that are not there. bring in the aspects of buttons that will easily help you navigate from one page to the other. Uh, and then now see how you can publish this report. However, this publishing of this report requires you to have a work email that has a license to Power BI service. So this is Power BI desktop where you develop reports. You push the reports to Power BI service by an associated email to a Power BI license. And then from there now, you can now have a distributable, a link where you just share with someone a link and they are able to access your report. Now, what I want you to do as well, in the future projects that you'll be working on, I want you to you develop reports like this. You also prepare presentation. So you prepare a report like this. If you can do that for this one as well, the better. Look at the problem statement. If there is, where you are getting this data, if there is a problem statement, put that is also as part of your slides. So put that as part of your slide, and then I'll show how you are able to approach that. So problem statements is really nice way of handling like answering questions from the data. So that's now well put to that extent. So I want you to start writing like the slides so for your project so that you can be able to you design your slides for the project, you put the visuals from Power BI. There's a way you just export you can export this your pages to slides so that you can also insert them in your slides. You can export, you can take screenshots, you can do whatever you want in order for you to get your slides. So when you go to file, export, then you can be able to export these visuals. Can you go to file? Export. So you can export to PDF. Can you export to PDF? PDF. However, it will not be interactive like the way it was while it was still in Power BI. So it will be static charts now. Yeah, so you can have your report in now PDF like that. So now this you can easily, of course, make it like change PDF to Word, and now you can take those your visual to where you want. So you can even share with someone like this is your project that you did in Power BI. Easier way of sharing that out. Okay. So I think that is in order now. So can let me allow me share my screen. That's good. That's good. Well done. So you just put that into some presentations, and then you can share on the social medias. Like you're able to approach this project, just refine it, and then you can feel free to tag us. You can feel free to tag me. Then we'll be able to see that. So you come up with a problem statement on what you're approaching. So that's good. Good work. Good work. Good work. Good work. So when you do that is when people will know that Rose learned Power BI and is able to work on the Power BI related tasks. So yeah, so you need, these are the page navigator, so you need to bring this in your visuals. You can see my slicers, I arranged them on this side so that I can have something in between here so that they take as much space as possible. So that is that. And now this makes it easier to navigate from one page to the other from here. You can see it is here. Here it is supposed to be there. And also here it's supposed to be there. So I just have to paste that on every page. So for instance, I just want to show you DAX expression the easier way. Of course, now you have generative AI. You can use generative AI to give you that so that you can focus more time on on giving insights than like memorizing the DAX expression. For instance, you wanted, let's say this is our data, and maybe we wanted uh, it can be anything. So I'm just looking at just anything that I can use. So let's say profit. Maybe we want to show a measure. You see now, hope you understand the difference between a measure and a column. So a column is added in the report. A column is added in the table. A measure is not added in the table. A column is added in the table. A measure is not added in a table. A measure can be something like sum, average, which are not added in the table. They are just holders. They are holders. So let me say I want to create orders. So these are orders. So maybe we want count of orders with profit. Let me see the profit. Sum of profit is this. So with profit that is over 50,000. Like count of orders with profit over 50,000. So how can we create that new variable, new measure? That's a measure. So what you do, like count, if it's count, then it's a measure. So you just need to click here. You can right click and then you can insert new measure. So when you click on the new measure, you will see this screen showing up. So here is where you give the variable name to this measure. So profit order underscore profit over 50K, something like that. I'm not saying that that's the label that you can give to this measure, but just creating it so that it can be relatable. So order profit underscore over 50K. So you need here an expression. So if you want to count, you can type from scratch. You can see this DAX expression is now coming up. However, we want to make your work easier so that you don't spend a lot of time like learning how to write DAX expressions. Yet you can also do the same using some generative models. So let me say we get here a generative model, let's say Gemini, depending on whichever you decide to use. So just go to any of the generative models, and yeah, you can now ask just a minute. Yeah, so you can ask, give me a DAX expression from sheet table name from table sheet 1. So you have to give the name of the table that you are using, your table. Give me a DAX expression from table sheet 1 for count of orders, for like sum of orders. Let's say some count of orders, yes. For count of orders that have profit that is greater than 50,000. So you have here the DAX expression. So DAX expression to count the number of orders in the sheet 1 table where the profit is greater than 50 is this. So this is what you should take, but you can of course now understand what it does. Count rows. So we are doing filtering. Remember, every functions in spreadsheets in where they usually start acting from inside. So from here. So what you do first, you need to filter. This function iterates through every row of the sheet 1 table and returns a new table containing only the rows where the values in the profit column is strictly greater than 50,000. And then now count rows. This function then now simply just counts the number of rows that have been filtered by the table. So just copy this. This is what we call a DAX expression. And then now you go to your Power BI, and then now you just paste that. You replace this what you had started typing, and you're good to go. So once you have this, you just click on this tick to commit your changes. You'll see a new measure here that is called order profit over 50K. This is now the new measure that has been created. So you can bring a slicer to just showcase that data. You bring a card, not a slicer, card, to just showcase that measure. So just bring that card and then now drag that measure to data. And then if there is data in, then we can see that means there is no data that has over 50K. So we can adjust. Let's go to the table and see what the profit has. If profit is not near there, then you can reduce. So profit is really, really small. And remember, this is in USD. So we can have it's like over, let's say 20. Yeah, let's say 20. So you just come here. If you want to change, you just click here. The DAX expression formula will come here at the top. You just amend this to 20 instead of 50K. 20, greater than 20. You press enter, and that effect will take place. As we said, this measure is not added here as a variable. A measure is not a column. It's just a holder of something. So when you go back to our visual, then we are able to see that there is values there. So that's the count of orders that have profit over 50K. That's what we mean by DAX expression. So you can use it to come up with your own customized measures, your own customized columns per se. If you were, let's say, like you had something like age, and you want to create age categories, then you can be able to use DAX expression to come up with that. Either it will use an if statement, or it will use a switch, So these are just like functions that are already there. If statement, like these are control structures, we call them control structures. So it will use switch or if statements. If age is less than 18, label it as 18 below. If age is 24 to this, label it this. So if that's what we call now the control structures. So the if statement and the switch, you can be able to use them there. The same way we have done for this, just done for this, for order profit over 50K. So I give you a challenge on this. I want you to implement this in part of your development. Ensure that you position your headers at the very top. Don't leave space at the top. Ensure that you balance your visual to fully occupy the space, the canvas, so that doesn't look empty and also does not look overcrowded. So if you publish your dashboard, let me see, just a minute, I need to post something, just a minute. I want you to proceed and finalize your analysis, make some changes that I've recommended. You can share back, and then now you can prepare a slide presentation of that analysis, of your analysis. So it can be the problem. If the problem is carbon emission, and then you can the problem is carbon emission, you can even give generative model to come up with a problem statement for you. Just give the data set, and then it will come up with a problem statement for you that you can use to approach that. So just give a problem statement and say you want to solve that using Power BI. It will give you a problem statement. Then you can now be able to proceed with now implementing that. That way, it teaches you data storytelling, because you'll be approaching problems with like, you'll be approaching data sets with problems in mind. Okay. Are we together now? Rebecca? Can't hear you. Yeah. So otherwise, thank you so much. So just wanted to show you DAX expression, and that is it. So do those changes. Once you've done those changes, we can, of course, find one of the days while we are finalizing on Python. So we'll be starting Python next week. So while finalizing on Python, we can find time, like from the last sessions, to now look at drill true, so that we can see how that goes. So we keep pushing, we keep learning, like Power BI, by developing reports. Otherwise, thank you for your time, and I wish you a nice evening. Unless you have something to tell me before we leave.
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you kindly quickly remind me on how to remove missing values before when transforming the data?
So missing values while transforming data. Don't see my tired. Get data, transform data. Where are you? Yeah, don't see you. Transform data. Can even get from this side, not here. Yeah. So let me say we get data, but think there is transform here. transform where you can't see you easily. Let me just maximize this. Yeah, that way I will see transform easier. So transform data. So transform data to load your data. Then you can see different actions that you can take on your data. So it depends, how do you want to handle missing values? How do you want to handle missing values? The missing values, you might replace the values if you have missing values, you can replace the missing values with a particular value. So you have different options of how to replace values or fill missing values. If you have some if you can fill missing values by filling down, filling up, like filling a value by that is before or filling a value that is after. So you have that here, an option for you to be able to do that. Replace values. You can replace some values with another value. So just click on the value that you want to replace. You just click on it and then you are able to replace it with another value that you want. Of course, if columns are also like a lot of missing columns, you can also remove some columns that you want to remove. Or you can leave other columns and remain with others. Same thing you can do for rows. You can remove the bottom rows, the alternating rows, like depending on the circumstance. If you need to replace a missing value, just go to that missing value and then you can be able to like replace the missing value with another value. If you need to replace the entire, if you need to replace like in the entire column, you can find a value to replace in the entire column. So if it's null, just type null, then you can replace with another value. Did you try replacing?
I'm trying.
Okay. So you can use replace values easiest. But if you want to fill with the previous values, you can use the fill. You just right click. Sorry. You just right click the column and then now you can fill either up or fill down. As I told you, the difference is fill down is you are picking values from the top, you fill to the bottom blank. Filling up means you pick a value from the bottom, you fill to the top. So that's the approaches that you can use to fill some missing values in your data. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Have a nice evening. Have a nice weekend as you work on that. And share with me once you're done.
You too.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.